today for the Panthers, the Wofford Terriers, coming off a 3-8 season last year, 3-5 in the Southern Conference, always one of the best in the FCS, and starting a new tenure led by the new full-time head coach, Sean Watson, of course, familiar to Pitt fans. Here we go. It is good to have college football back, my friend.
Absolutely, and I'm interested to see how Wofford comes out on offense. I think they've got to get that quick passing game going. They've got to try and move the ball. You cannot allow this Pitt defense, once they line up, to get up the field. So it'll be interesting to see what this first series looks like for this Wofford offense.
Ben Sauls boots it away, and Kyle Parsons and Garrett Vernon let it go for a touchback. All right, so talking about that Wofford offense under the guidance of Sean Watson, Bryce Corrston is the starting quarterback. Senior from Spring, Texas, outside of Houston. He won the job today. It's only his third career start and his first since a couple of years ago.
And one of the things that was interesting when we talked to the coaching staff, they said we just want him to manage the game. He is a great game manager, something quarterbacks usually don't want to be referred to as a game manager, but they said they want him to manage the game.
Yeah, that's how he won the job, Sean Watson was telling us. And in this case, a term of endearment. And leading this Wofford offense, Chaz and New Look, they've gone to the pro spread. Started that about midway through last year when they made the coaching change. And now the spread. And we've got a couple of flags that fly. And it looks like a false start on Wofford.
False start. Offense. White guard. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
And those are the things that you cannot have happen early in the ball game. You're the guard. You're right next to the center. You know the snap count. You see the football. There is no reason to move prematurely. But when you've got these huge hulking defensive linemen in front of you, you want to get a head start and try and knock those guys off the football. And
it is a big and experienced front seven for Pitt and coordinator Randy Bates. Corrston under pressure, and he's dragged down. Dayon Hayes, the most electric defensive end for Pitt, gets home for the sack and a loss of 8.
And early in the ball game, the offensive linemen aren't setting their feet. You've got to set your feet on the inside. You've got to get a base. You see right there, the offensive tackle, you've got to engage. When they run that twist, that TE twist, you've got to take him and you've got to drive him up the field. You cannot allow him to go back under.
Yeah, it's really going to need to watch how this Wofford O-line fares against the front seven of the Panthers. 2nd and 23, and that is blown up in the backfield by DeAndre Jules, who they are expecting big things from this year. A 5th-year senior, a backup in his career, and it's 3rd and a mile.
And the guard, you got to pick it up and put it down. That means pick that foot up, put it down, and punch. You cannot just throw a shoulder in there when you've got athletic defenders coming up the field. You've got to get a piece of them, put your hips together. You've got to get hip to hip with the tackle, not allow him to split and get up the field.
And you talk athleticism on a D-line for going up against that. They call DeAndre Jules a freak. He's lost a lot of weight, and it sets up 3rd and 27 for Wofford, which will go conservative here, take its medicine and punt with a handoff to Ryan Ingram. And how about that? The first 90 seconds, exactly what Pitt wanted to see defensively.
And coming into this ball game, the Wofford offense understood that Pitt was going to get up the field. They are not a read and react. They are an up the field aggressive bunch of guys. They play press man on the outside, and they test your manhood. And you saw it early in this ball game, and I think we will continue to see it throughout the afternoon. So Wofford has to figure out a way to answer the call.
Atkins Roberts gets it away. MJ Devonshire, talented return man, did signal for the fair catch just across midfield. All right, so 2 minutes in. Now we get to watch Phil Jurkovec, 6th-year senior. His first career start, of course, for the Panthers. Now at his 3rd school. Pine Richland, 17 miles north of the stadium, as Alex said. And Phil was saying to us, I got 30 family members here from Erie alone who I wasn't expecting to be here today.
I'm going to tell you why I knew he was a ball player when he walked in the door. He's got a square chin. And when you look at him, he just looks like one of those Pittsburgh guys that just loves to play the game.
Forrest sizing up the facial shapes early on in week 1. To the air on the first snap for Jurkovec, and he finds one of his new wide receivers, Day Reynolds, who makes the grab. Tackle made by Isaiah Wadsworth. It's a gain of about 4.5.
And a good first play for your quarterback. You want to get him a completion. You want to get him into a rhythm, something easy. Allow your athletes to make plays in space.
Day-Day Reynolds steps in from Florida, a couple of years there. Also, Bub Means and Konate Mumfield expected to be the top targets for the Panthers, who do have a host of freshman wide receivers as well.
Rolling on the field. The previous play is under further review.
So we hear from Jeff Flanagan, our referee for the first time, and we will check on it when we come back. Phil Jurkovec, Pat Narduzzi off and running, 2.5 minutes in.
And acting 28th Infantry Division Commander, Brigadier General John Pippy. Get your Clearview Federal Credit Union 50.
It's your very own safe haven.
Phil Jurkovec in this offense. Mentioned Izzy Abanikanda and Rodney Hammond, but it's Daniel Carter, the fifth-year senior, 4 in blue, who gets the start. And his first carry of the season is for a few yards. And we're going to see who it is who emerges at running back. And that's what the Pitt coaches think as well, that over the course of the season, it will evolve. 5 yards there for Daniel Carter. Brings up 3rd and medium. Okay, Chris, thanks very much. For those of you now watching here on ACC Network as well, how about that outcome in Chestnut Hill in Northern Illinois? We continue on with our triple header as we take you to Pittsburgh, a game a few minutes underway so far in the opener here for the Panthers. Alongside Forrest Connolly, I'm Mike Monaco, Alex Chappell with us as well. And Forrest, Pitt's defense came out. They got a stop against Wofford here on the first possession. And now Phil Jurkovec and this offense for the Panthers. And they got a 4th and 1.
And I'm going quarterback sneak, something we talked to the coaching staff about. When you've got a 6'5", 230-pound quarterback, you run the quarterback sneak.
And they do, right behind the center, Jake Cradle, and that's exactly what Frank Cignetti, the offensive coordinator, told us yesterday, and I know that makes your heart swell.
Absolutely. When you've got an offensive line that averages 6'5", 325 pounds, you've got an athletic quarterback at 6'5", 235, 240 pounds, why not?
Yeah, that is the playing weight. Phil Jurkovec has said 245 at 6'5". He's been throwing the ball as well as he ever has, according to what Pat Narduzzi and Frank Cignetti told us. He's got Pitt at the 35. Konate Mumfield in motion. And on play action, Jurkovec under pressure and dragged down by David Powers. Wofford's leading tackler a year ago comes up with a sack and a loss of 12.
And this is the strong point of this Wofford defense there. Linebackers, and you see the delayed blitz by Powers. He read what was going on. He allowed the mesh to move to the side, and when he saw a lane, he shot through that lane. So for Jurkovec, he's got to be able to recognize that and go where he's coming from. So where Powers came from, he had a receiver sitting down right there. You've got to be familiar with your receivers, and that'll take time because you have to remember this is the first live game action for Jurkovec in this receiving corps. So he'll get used to where those guys are going to be, but you've got to go where the rush is coming from.
Sets up 2nd and 22. 4-man rush, some pressure again, and over the middle, and that one bounced incomplete, intended for the Florida transfer Day-Day Reynolds with Maximus Pulley in coverage for Wofford.
And Jurkovec once again had pressure in his face. He had time. You saw Daniel Carter try to step up and make the block and protect his quarterback. He got ran over, but he put himself in harm's way. That's what you want to do. But the offensive line, they need to do a better job because pressure is coming too quickly in Jurkovec's face.
Get a look at Jake Cradle in the middle, his 39th start to center, all ACC last year. And now 3rd down and long in plus territory for Jurkovec and Pitt. And conservative on a QB draw for just a couple of yards before Harry Morgan, one of the outside linebackers, part of that experienced front seven, in on the stop and some boos here at Acrisure Stadium. And we talked with Pat Narduzzi, now in his 9th season, about this team, and a lot of it does start with Phil Jurkovec, but then on the defensive side of the ball as well, they've got a lot of guys who've been cooking in the crock pot, as Charlie Partridge says, and they've spent some time here getting ready and stepping into bigger roles.
And one of the things we talked to Coach Narduzzi about is facing adversity, and did he want to see his team face adversity in a game that they should win. And he said he wants to see how they respond.
Ball appeared to cross over the goal line, and it did. So it is a touchback off the leg of Caleb Junko. For those of you watching this game on ESPN News, the action continues over on ACC Network right after the break.
Long weekends are for you, Ty.
Prime has been telling you, and everything he does, he's been successful. Great win for that ball club today.
Well, here in Pittsburgh, second drive for Wofford, and this is the freshman running back, J.T. Smith. Talented Charlotte native out of the backfield for 4 yards.
And this is what I thought we would see from this Wofford offense, the quick pass game. You want to get the ball out in the open to your playmakers, allow them to be playmakers in the open field. That is the way that you have to work against an up-the-field aggressive defense. You've got to do misdirection in the quick pass game.
Wofford's first drive was a 5-yard penalty, 8-yard sack, and then -4 on a rush the first 3 plays. This is Ryan Ingram on the ground for just a couple of yards. Sean Watson at the helm, of course, an offensive coordinator here at Pitt for 2 years in 17 and 18. Served as the interim head coach for Wofford for the second half of last year, replacing Josh Conklin, of course, the former Pitt defensive coordinator. At that time, Wofford had lost 15 straight games when they made the coaching change and then the full-time role in the offseason.
And one of the things I think people have to understand, when you're going from a triple option offense to a more traditional offense, you have to get different types of offensive linemen in your system. These guys aren't built for the type of system that they're running now, so they're transitioning.
Incomplete to the sideline, intended for the tight end Bryson Dickerson, and broken up. Bengali Kamara there in coverage, and it brings up 4th down. Yeah, that's what the Wofford coaching staff was saying to us, and you've already highlighted it, that the biggest piece of their development, especially offensively, is on that offensive line, trying to get the guys to compete with the offense they want to run.
Well, the triple option offensive linemen, you see the whites in their fingers because they're leaning forward and they're going forward.
Atkins Roberts sends one in the direction of MJ Devonshire. Just inside his 40, slips a couple of tacklers and navigates out of bounds after a punt of 3rd for Pitt. No score midway through the first quarter. We check out today's Player Spotlight, brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. And we're going to see Rodney Hammond Jr. on this drive, who in his first couple of years has rushed for nearly 1,000 yards combined.
4.2 yards per carry, average Sun Bowl MVP. You know, he's got the size that you want from a back, 5'9", 195, very shifty, and he shows great vision when he's on the football field.
Daniel Carter got the start because Pat Narduzzi said to us he's had a great camp, hasn't missed a day. On play action out of a 3 tight end set, that is blown up. Malcolm Epps, the USC transfer, on the catch, and Chavis Minot, redshirt freshman corner, makes the stop for a loss of 1.
And Malcolm Epps is an interesting player, 6'6", 255 pounds. That is what you have to do when you come up on a big guy like that. You've got to get down and take his legs out. But Epps is a guy that comes in from a spread offense. He wants to learn the traditional tight end position, and the coaches said he's coming along. And with that unique size, he can be a great talent for this ball club.
On the ground with Hammond this time, and he fights for yards. That's kind of what Rodney Hammond does. Andre Powell, the running backs coach, has said when everyone thinks he's stopped, he always finds 2 or 3 more yards.
And that's that vision that the coaching staff talked about. And you always want your backs to fall forward. He's not the biggest of guys, but he's got the kind of size that you look for as far as those speed backs, and he falls forward.
Well, now we get a look at a 3rd back for Pitt, Sibo Flemister, the 6th-year senior, in life after Israel Abanikanda. 3rd down and 4. Pitt 0 for 2 on 3rd down so far. Out of the pistol, it's Flemister. Fights forward past the 45, and he picks up a 1st down.
And right now you're seeing running back by committee, and I think for Coach Narduzzi and his staff, they're going to see which back is hot, and I think if one guy continues to get going, that'll be the back that they go with. But it's a great problem to have when you've got 3 quality backs that you can choose from, and you keep fresh legs in the game.
That's what Pat Narduzzi said to us. It might be by committee. We're going to find out who the guy is. Gave Carter the start. We just saw Flemister there for a first down, and now back to Rodney Hammond. Kenny Johnson, the talented freshman wideout, in motion, but it's Hammond again. Spins forward for 4 yards before he's wrapped up by Brandon Mano, one of the vets on the D-line for Wofford.
And I want to give kudos to this defensive line for Wofford because they're holding up pretty good. When you go 6'1", 280 versus 6'5", 325, you've got a 4-inch height advantage on the offensive line side and a 45-pound weight advantage. And they've got long arms, those kids over there for Pittsburgh. But Wofford's doing a really good job of playing low. The low man wins. I don't care how big and strong you are. If someone is lower than you, they're going to have leverage.
Andrew Warwick, the defensive coordinator, said to us, do they have anyone on the O-line less than 6'5"?
Yes.
It's a big group. Jurkovec needs somewhere to go to the sideline, out of the hands of Hammond, who had slipped free up the sideline, and it brings up 3rd down.
And right there, that is a case of Hammond getting overexcited. Jurkovec does a good job of keeping his eyes down the field, and you see the ability to get the football there a little bit behind Hammond, but he should have been able to grip that football, squeeze it, bring it into his body. But I think Hammond saw the end zone, and he was reacting to what he was getting ready to do as opposed to catching the football, then getting up the field.
Some opening day excitement, perhaps. And now 3rd down and 6. Jurkovec 2 for 4, -1 passing yards for Pitt. 10 minutes in. This is Daniel Carter fighting inside the 40 before he's wrapped up. Brings up 4th down now from the 38 after a pickup of 3, and you would expect 4-down territory?
I do, but watch this play. Now watch number 78 get knocked back. That's what you cannot have happen. Number 78, number 50, you cannot get knocked back. Once again, you saw the Wofford defenders get under those guys. They're the low man wins, and when they knocked them back, they messed up the whole play.
So 4th down and 3, and the offense stays on the field for Pat Narduzzi. 3 tight ends, including Epps in motion. Carter follows him, burrows forward, and he's got a 1st down on a gain of 4.
And I like going for it on 4th down. You've got that big offensive line. You've got to issue the challenge, and they accepted the challenge on that play. Going backwards, something I did not expect to see, but you saw a bit of a push on that left side where the back was able to get the 1st down.
Remember, Jason Collier Jr., 5th-year senior, steps in to start at left guard because Ryan Jacoby's out for the year. Pat Narduzzi announced that this week. Jacoby got hurt in mid-camp. He was playing at a very high level. On 1st down, inside the 35 on a slant, it's caught, and running room for Bub Means. The first time we have called Bub's name. High expectations in his 2nd year at Pitt, a gain of 24.
And a great job by the offensive line. They picked up all of the defenders. You allowed Means to find an open spot on a short crossing route. He got up the field. That is what you want to see from your offensive line. Give Jurkovec the time that he needs, and he will find a receiver in the middle of the defense.
New number, new hair for Bub Means, but the same oozing of energy at all times from one of the top wideouts for the Panthers. 1st down and goal for Pitt. Hammond, running lane and a touchdown. Pitt's on the board with Rodney Hammond.
And if you're Wofford, this is what you want. Benny Radisha has one-on-one. You've got to make that tackle. You can't dive at the offensive player. You've got to get your body between him and the goal line and make the tackle. If you don't make the tackle, slow him down to allow pursuit to get there. But just diving at him going towards the end zone, that's not going to get it done.
Ben Sauls tacks on the point after. 7-zip. Thanks to Rodney Hammond, the junior from Norfolk, Virginia. You had mentioned his vision earlier, and he uses that pass rendition.
Well, you see him cut back, and one of the things, once again, as a linebacker, you've got to break down. You can't just go flying inside. You see Rhodesia go to the inside. He's flying to the inside. You've got your defenders there. You've got to keep that outside contained just for that cutback. And you saw when he flew to the inside with the rest of the defenders, Hammond was able to cut back out to the outside and get to the end zone. So you've got to make sure that you play your role and trust your teammates to do their job. You can't go for the big play. You've got to be there to make the play that you're supposed to make if you're where you're supposed to be.
And Hammond cashes in at the end of a 9-play, 57-yard, nearly 5-minute drive from 10 yards out. Mighty involved on that drive for Pitt. Parsons and Vernon back deep for Wofford, with Pitt on the board late in the first. Ben Sauls, another touchback. Hey, coming up next, we cap the day with Sandman. Virginia Tech hosts Old Dominion, looking for some revenge in Blacksburg. It's also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere as Brent Pry starts his second season. And yeah, looking for revenge after last year against Old Dominion. Grant Wells back at quarterback for the Hokies. All right, first two drives for Wofford, 3 and out. 3 and out again. What do they need to do to find some movement down the field?
Well, I thought they had some success early in the last drive with the short, quick pass game. I think they need to stick to that. I think you start looking at some misdirection. When you've got an up-the-field defense that's aggressive like this Pitt defense, you've got to do some misdirection. Use their speed against them.
I've got just 1 yard on 6 plays. Play action. Bryce Corriston to the air and incomplete. 2 flags, one on the near sideline near the intended target, and then one in the backfield after Bryce Corriston took a shot.
There are 2 fouls on the play, both on the defense. Pass interference, number 12, defense. Penalty is declined. Roughing the passer, number 11, defense. That penalty is accepted. 15 yards, first down.
The first issue on that play, number 12, Devonshire, never turned around to locate the football. You've got to turn around. You got to locate the football. But he forced the receiver. You want to force the receiver, but you can't stop. You got to turn around and you keep your hands on him. You can't do that. The officials are going to make that call every time. Turn around, play the football the entire play, not back and forth.
And then the roughing the passer on Bengali Kamara, known for his pass rushing. A couple of running backs here. This is J.T. Smith out of the option look with running room up ahead, lowering the shoulder on A.J. Woods, and it's a gain of 14.
And this is what you do against an aggressive up-the-field defense. The read play, you read option, you read the defensive man. He gets up the field. Right when he gets to you, it's the quarterback. You pitch it to your back, and you give him the space to get around the edge and be a playmaker. You've got to get the ball to your playmakers in the open field.
And still some semblance of the option there now in this pro spread attack for Wofford under Sean Watson. On first down, we'll screen to the outside for Alec Holt, the senior from Jacksonville. Missed a lot of time last year due to injury, and he got dragged down with no gain on the play. Kyle Lewis, the redshirt freshman, on the stop.
And with the speed of this defense, you can't go east and west. You've got to go north and south. When you're east and west, if you're going east and west, it needs to be a pitch to your back that's already turned up the field and getting north and south. The speed, the pursuit of this defense, it will not allow you to make plays starting out east and west.
Randy Bates said it to us yesterday, and it's nothing new with Pitt. We want to be the most aggressive defense in the country. Corriston dropped it, and Bam Brema pounces on it. And Pitt's got a takeaway.
And this is an interesting play because I don't know if Corriston was trying to pull the ball back out the belly. You see here, he goes with the fake. But you've got to make a decision if you're Corsten. You've got to pull that ball out, and if you decide to pull it, you've got to be strong about and be convinced and have conviction pulling that ball out. You can't think about it and say, well, maybe I'll take it. You've got to pull it out, and you've got to get around, because once again, with an aggressive defense, they're going to be there.
And again, Bryce Corsten is in there because of his game management abilities. You talked about it earlier. That's how he won the job. And Sean Watson said to us, he's got to stay within himself. Well, Brema with the takeaway. And late first quarter, Pitt at midfield. On a pitch to Flemister. He's stacked up. Benny Radisha the first to meet him as Pitt keeps it on the ground.
And once again, a good job by this Wofford defense, being the low man, stringing that play out, allowing their linebackers to flow downhill. For them to be successful, they've got to keep those offensive linemen occupied and allow those linebackers to flow to the play.
Second down, Flemister again up the middle. Takes it toward the 40, close to the sticks, maybe a half-yard shy before the tackle made by Maximus Pulley. And Pitt's going to go quickly with Jurkovec under center, right behind Cradle. On cue again, that's two of them, and you are doubly happy.
And that was too easy. There was nobody lined up over the center on that play. I could have gotten that first down. Bad knees and all.
So inside the final 15 seconds of this opening quarter. And Jurkovec and Pitt will not snap it at the end of the first. Well, the Panthers, at least offensively, took them a drive to settle in. That was more like it. And the fans packing this place, loving what they saw. DeAndre Jules and Rodney Hammond have Pitt off and running. Opener for Pitt, start of the second quarter here at Acrisure Stadium. Mike Monaco, Forrest Connolly, Alex Chappell with you. And Pitt on the move. Jurkovec, a play fake. Checks it down to Sebo Flemister out of the backfield. And Flemister's got a first down. Alex Chappell during the break with Sean Watson.
Well, Coach Watson, in the first game, it's always about learning about your team. What have you learned about your team so far after this first quarter?
Well, I really feel good about our defense. They gave up a big pass play, then gave up a run right behind it. They're playing well. They just got to calm them down. And offensively, we've got a bunch of young guys out there. Got to calm them down. They finally got a little rhythm going and shot ourselves in the foot. So we've got to just get everybody calm down.
Coach Watson, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So he points to two plays defensively, and then obviously the turnover on the Corsten fumble recovered by Bam Brema. Flemister ahead, not much there on first down for 1.5 yards.
And once again, coming into this ball game, you expected this offensive line, this veteran line, to overwhelm the much smaller defensive line for Wofford, but that just has not occurred. This Wofford Ball Club is game. They've come in. They've got a really good game plan, it seems like, defensively on their defensive front. They're playing low man wins football, and they're winning at the point of attack.
Andrew Warwick is one of the two co-defensive coordinators in his second year. He calls the defense. Spent a half dozen years in different roles at Clemson for a while, where he cut his teeth. Jurkovec keeps, quarterback design run, and Jurkovec streaks in for his first Pitt touchdown.
And a great read by Jurkovec. He saw the defensive end crashing down, and he pulled the ball out and got around the edge, and no one was there. You see the end come crashing down. That's the read for the quarterback. If the end stays out, he's going to leave the ball in the belly of the back, but he pulled the ball out when he saw the end crashing down. There was no contain around the edge, and he got up the field for the easy score for Pitt.
So already a lot more QB run than what Pitt had seen last year with Keaton Slovis. Phil Jurkovec on the ground, a couple of sneaks, and then from 23 yards out. He told us yesterday, we could probably fill a whole section with my family and friends watching me for the first time at Pitt.
And what a play for Jacoby to get the touchdown in the second quarter, to start the second quarter for his family and friends to celebrate. Long, he'll get more. He'll know where his receivers are going to be. They'll get in sync, and I think you'll see more of the plays like we saw the last play from Jacoby.
Ben Sauls boots it away, and another touchback. We go down to Alex Chappell.
Mike and Forrest, at the start of this game, you talked about the players on defense that the Panthers have lost, having to replace 6 of their 7 top pass rushers. I had a chance to catch up with Captain David Green, and he's telling me this identity, their standard doesn't change. We're seeing that early in this one. He says we are physical, we're going to play fast, and everything we do is about being tough and gritty.
Yeah, and Randy Bates put it to us that it's a good group. He said we lost a lot of guys, though, to Alex's point, and so we're not experienced necessarily, but there are a lot of guys who've spent a handful of years in the Pitt system. It's an out pattern to Alec Holt, but there is a flag on the far side of the field with P.J. O'Brien in on the stop for Pitt.
Offside. Defense number 44. The penalty is 5 yards. Replay first down.
What excites you most about this defense for Pitt headed into this year?
The aggression. I like aggressive defenses. I don't like the read and react defenses. I like defenses that get up the field, that play press man on the outside, and that test your manhood. And that's what they do. They're going to get up the field. They're going to hit you in the mouth. They're going to see how tough you are. So I love that aggression about this defense.
Jimmy Scott was offside, and there's some pressure. Samuel Okunlola in on the sack for the Panthers and a loss of 8.
And you saw pressure right at the snap of the football. And, you know, Braylon Lovelace, here's a guy that put on about 25 pounds of muscle since he's gotten to the program. He worked in the off-season program, and you see the effects right there. But they had immediate pressure in Coruscant. There was nothing he could do on that play.
So with all the vets on this defense, the likes of the 6th-year senior David Green, one of the captains, we've seen a freshman get involved with Okunlola there, and you mentioned Braylon Lovelace as well, a true freshman. Second sack for the Panthers, and now a rollout for Bryce Coruscant on 2nd and 13, and he tiptoes out of bounds after just a couple of yards, run out by O'Brien and Solomon DeShields.
And you saw the track speed from Coruscant right there, getting around the edge and running to safety. If he's not a track guy, he's probably tackled at the 15-yard line, but he got up out of there and did the best that he could to get all that he could and get out of bounds. And once again, you see that aggressive up the field defense. So you've got to get that quick pass game. I don't think you can do 5- and 7-step drops against this defense.
Well, now it's 3rd down and 11. Pressure on Coruscant, and down he goes. Bengali Kamara, the disruptor, with a 3rd Panther sack. It's a loss of 9, and now 4th down.
And what did the coaching staff tell us about Kamara? They said he has Sunday talent, and you see it the way he flies off the edge. He comes unblocked, and you cannot allow that to happen. As an offensive lineman, you've got to get your pre-snap reads. You've got to know where the rush is coming from. As the quarterback, you've got to know who is going to be unblocked, and that is where you need to go with the football.
Atkins Roberts has been busy here in the first half. MJ Devonshire fielded it, now stretches it wide. There is a flag at midfield as Devonshire goes out of bounds in plus territory after 9 yards on the return. It looked like a what happened from MJ Devonshire.
Illegal block in the back. Number 7. Penalty is 10 yards. First down.
Pitt's got it. They've got all the momentum here in this first half when we come back to Acrisure Stadium.
Sometimes you see some of these busts and they don't look like the player. He has a really nice one. I love it.
You want accuracy, and you also want the hairline to be perfect.
Absolutely.
Everything. Beard trim. First down, Jurkovec to the air, and it's Kanate Mudfield Puts his foot in the ground. He's got a first down on the first play. All right, today's Aflac trivia question. We are seeing this for the first time with all of you. So Darrelle Revis in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. How many Pitt players have received the Canton Call? Do you know off the top of your head?
I say 4.
Ooh. More than that. We'll let you think about it. We'll let everyone else chew on it as well.
That was a quick answer.
Yeah, and you were seeing it for the first time.
And I've got a smart one, too.
Here's Jurkovec. Time to throw across the middle, and that's Jake Renda. He's got the catch. He's got the first down. His first career reception, a mismatch type of guy, part of a deep tight end room.
Well, they go 6'5", 255 with Epps, 6'2", 255 with Johnson, 6'5", 250 with Bartholomew, who is considered the best of the group, and Renda at 6'4", 230. So they've got some big guys they can spread that ball around to, and guys that can get down on the line of scrimmage and block on those edges.
Now, Frank Cignetti said to us that he thinks the tight end room is the most improved position room on the Pitt roster from last year to this year. Jurkovec to the air again, up the seam, and he's got another tight end. This time it's Gavin Bartholomew, tight end 1 for 28 yards, right down the middle of the field.
And the Mackey Award watch list, Bartholomew showed you why.
Very experienced over 3 years at 6'5", Bartholomew the grab, and now Daniel Carter. Cuts upfield, running behind Renda after the fine play. Jurkovec to Bartholomew.
And you see Bartholomew get down the middle of the field for Jurkovec, and he puts the ball where Bartholomew can turn around, contort his body, squeeze the football. He knows he's going to get hit, but then he gets up with that tough guy conversation. And you'd love to see that as an offensive lineman, because he's one of those. They're kind of offensive linemen, so to speak, tight ends are, because they have to get down and dirty with you in the trenches. So you love to see your guys when they get the opportunity to touch the football.
Yeah, you grant them honorary admission. And Bartholomew, proud owner still of that strong mullet. Second and goal, it's Carter trying to break free and reach toward the goal line, and he is spotted just shy at the 1 as John Michael DiRoberto made the tackle to senior safety.
And a good job by DiRoberto, because no one else was there. You just got to try and slow him down. And he almost still got to the end zone with the football.
Daniel Carter goes 5'10", 230. He's actually dropped some weight in the offseason. Says he feels faster. And he stays in there on 3rd and goal. Jurkovec under center. And Jurkovec trouble with the snap. Carter picks it up and is in for a touchdown. That happened in the Sun Bowl as well, and it works out all right yet again for Pitt.
And I'll tell you what makes it difficult. You've got 3 tight ends on the field. So all 3 of these guys are blocking at the point of attack. You have to be concerned with them going out on a route, but they're able to get the blocks and sustain those blocks. That's why coaches talk about sustaining your blocks. You don't know what's going on behind you. If you don't sustain that block, he's not able to pick that up and get to the end zone.
And Daniel Carter does get in from a yard out. Ben Saul's the point after, and it's 21-zip. Pitt on top. Carter picks it up. The linemen finishing their blocks. He's in. Pitt's rolling on FCS Wofford, and you said it, Pat Narduzzi was not looking for any adversity. It looks good so far.
A little bit of adversity in the first quarter, but they settled in. And once again, you've got a new quarterback. He's got to get familiar with his playmakers on the outside, understand where his receivers are going to be against live action. And I think Jurkovec knows what he wants to do with the football. And he knows, and he's starting to recognize where his guys are going to be.
He is spreading it around offensively. 7 different pass catchers with the grab so far, and 4 different rushers with at least 3 carries as the offense has started to hum. Midway through the second, Ben Sauls puts it in the air. And a fair catch signal. All right, defensively, you said aggression, a whole lot of pressure as well for Pitt.
Well, on this play, Jules, he's almost getting ready to take the handoff. As soon as the back gets the ball, he's back there making the tackle. And then Okunlola, he's just the recipient of a bunch of pressure on Corsten. And then right here, Kamara, he goes untouched. You've got to put a hat on a hat. You cannot give free range and free rush to a defense that's coming up the field. And once again, I know the coaching staff talked about game management, but Corsten has to do a better job of recognizing the unblocked defender and going there with the football. But his receivers have to do a good job of getting open when they see that rush coming.
And Wofford's got -5 yards so far. It's a jet sweep to Alec Holt. Turns it upfield and spun away from Marquez Williams. I mean, you talk about this Pitt defense the last 4 years. In total, they lead the country in sacks over that 4-year span. And they've been top 5 in the country in sacks in each of those years. And last year, 2nd in the nation in sacks per game.
Because they get up the field and they trust their players on the outside. We just talked about one of the all-time greats in Darrelle Revis. And so when you recruit guys, you tell guys, hey, we started this whole Revis Island thing from high school to here to the NFL to the Hall of Fame, and that's what we want you to come here and do. Be a press corner, play press man on the outside so our defenders in the middle of this defense can get up the field.
You see the press on the perimeter, and Kamara coming off the edge as Corsten got rid of it. Great catch by Alec Holt on a pass behind him for a first down.
And I love the way he concentrated on the football. Watch Holt uses his left hand to reach back behind his body, grab the football, get possession, bring it close to his body because he knew O'Brien was coming with the contact and was going to try and knock that ball out. So a good job squeezing that football to get the first down for his quarterback.
We told you he missed most of last year due to a hamstring injury, but he's got some explosiveness. A couple of years ago, had 5 touchdowns. Wofford, by the way, without Dylan DeJetti today, did not make the trip. He's been battling a hamstring injury, their leading receiver from last year. Go on the ground with Ingram, and he's stacked up. You mentioned Darrelle Revis, so our answer to the Aflac trivia question, we had a guess of 4 from an unnamed announcer up here in the booth, and the answer is it's now 10, tied for 4th most nationally.
And I want to apologize to the Pitt Nation for my ignorance. I didn't even get half of it, so I apologize to the Pitt Panther family. Please forgive me.
Nothing wrong with that, my man.
I'm an ACC guy. I played in the ACC, so guys, forgive me. I'm sorry.
He's the Florida State great, the former All-American Forrest Connolly. 2nd down and 10. Corsten off his heels, throws to the sideline, and he's got it complete over to Ricky Shaw II for 11 yards, the redshirt freshman from Jacksonville.
And a good job by the offensive line to give him a bit of time. He had some pressure come late, but the receiver, that's how you've got to help your quarterback. You know, he got the ball out where the receiver could make a play. It's not always going to be a perfect pass. So a good job by his receiver, Shaw, on the outside to get that ball off the ground, not allowed to touch the ground and not allowed it to move, and put his team in a position to get a first down.
3rd down and 1, and Bryce Corsten in the shotgun. Hands to Ingram, and he is stuffed. Penetration in the backfield. Nate Temple got home, and no gain on the play, so it brings up 4th down.
And sometimes you have to go to old school football, line up in the I formation, or run the quarterback sneak. You didn't need a whole yard on that play. You needed a half a yard, and you get into the gun formation. So now you go from needing a half a yard to needing 5.5 yards, and you know this is an aggressive up the field defense, so you've got to use their aggression against them. You cannot expect to get 1 yard when they know that you're trying to run the football and you only need a half a yard.
And Nate Temple was in the backfield to blow that thing up. Low kick. Devonshire fields it, takes it across the 30. Picks up 10 yards on the return to set up the Panthers offense that is cruising. 21-0 the Pitt lead in the opener here in the first half.
And think about Coach Cignetti. When he saw him in you know, the portal, he had to get extremely excited. They've got a history together. He's watched him since he was a kid. He knows who he is. He understands his offensive philosophy. So it was a perfect match.
Frank Cignetti told him as Dracovic picks up 5. that it's going to be a competition. We asked Phil for his side of what the exchange was like, and he said that Frank Cignetti told him, look, come on, man, what are you waiting for? Let's just do this. Like, it seemed to make a lot of sense.
So was it Coach Speak when Coach Cignetti told us that? But you know what Jurkovec said was, you know, Slovitz had left. He said, so it was the perfect storm, and it gave him an opportunity to come back home.
Well, he has orchestrated 3 touchdown drives in this first half for his Panthers. Off the play fake, time to throw, and he floats it complete toward the sideline, and a good gain. Carter Johnson, another weapon, gets involved and picks up 23.
And the offensive line, once again, they're selling a good job of selling the run. That's what you want to do. You can't come outside of the line box. They did a good job. You can't go past 2 yards. So they did a good job of selling the run. And what that does is that allows the receivers to get down the field. The linebackers initially react and they take a step downhill. And once they take that step, now you give the opening for those receivers to find a space to make themselves a target for the quarterback.
Now 8 different Pitt Panthers with a reception. Jurkovec toward the sideline, zips it, and that's complete. That's Day Reynolds, and Jurkovec throwing the ball well here so far, and that's what the coaches told us yesterday. Pat Narduzzi said he's throwing the ball the best he has ever thrown.
And what was interesting, Coach Cignetti told Coach Narduzzi coming in, he's going to have some days where you're just going to be like, who is this guy? He's making bad throws, poor throws. But they have not seen that since he's been here, and that shows you the level of comfort he has with this offense.
He is 9 for 11 for 127 yards. And he told us if there's one thing individually he wants to improve upon, it's his completion percentage. For his career, a shade below 60%. Up the seam again, and complete to Mugfield. Inside the 5, got banged down by DiRoberto.
And Mugfield knew he was going to get hit, but he kept concentrating on the football, and he squeezed the football, and he was able to hold on to it. And for receivers, when you know you're going to get hit, sometimes guys get alligator arms, and they, you know, make an executive decision. But Mugfield made a grown man decision to squeeze that football, and a good job once again by Jurkovec finding his receiver who found the open space.
18 yards as he stood in there and took the shot. And now 1st and goal after a 14th first down for Pitt. Hammond running behind Epps. He's got a touchdown. 2nd for Rodney Hammond.
And once again, they go to that jumbo package with the 3 tight end set. They've got overload on both sides, and then they just wash everything down, and it allows for Hammond to get to the outside and basically walk into the end zone.
It's been a balanced attack for Pitt so far. About 240 yards of total offense. Doing it through the air and on the ground, and a 2nd touchdown for Rodney Hammond Jr.
And watch the left side of the offensive line. Watch how they wash everything down to the inside. And you've got number 7 coming around, Malcolm Epps, the big tight end at 6'6", 255 pounds, to kind of hold that edge. He had no one to block, so he just walked around the edge, and you saw Hammond basically walk into the end zone. But that's because the offensive line did a great job of taking all of those defenders and washing them down to the inside.
Well, hey, coming up on the Auto Owners Insurance Halftime Report, Kelsey and the gang will be in Blacksburg talking about that Boston College loss at the hands of Northern Illinois. And Virginia and Syracuse in action as well this afternoon. And then the big one tonight in Charlotte, the site for game day this morning, North Carolina and South Carolina. We get to watch Drake May.
Absolutely, a Heisman candidate. I mean, the things that this kid did last year, winning ACC Player of the Year, I mean, the sky's the limit for this young man. But I will say this, Shedeur Sanders, he had 510 yards today.
That's all?
4 different receivers with over 100 yards, so his name is in the conversation.
Week 1 taking down TCU, and you're putting it right in there. Inside of 90 seconds left in this first half of Pitt's season opener. Another touchback from Ben Sauls. Coming up next. next, the ACC Huddle crew will have a complete breakdown of our game, and they will get you set for Old Dominion and Virginia Tech and Sandman in Blacksburg. They'll wrap it up after it's over as well. Late night edition, Kelsey and the guys, E-Mac, EJ, the coach, and Eddie Royal. Good to have them back. Talking football feels right.
Absolutely.
All right, so this Wofford offense comes out, led by Bryce Corston, just 15 yards of total offense here in the first half. Kyle Parsons in at running back, team's leading rusher last year. They fake it to him, and Corston keeps. Brought him out to the sideline. Wofford's been dealing with some injury stuff. Parsons, 28 in white, coming off a hamstring injury. He is back to full speed now, but he started camp a little tentative on it. And then we mentioned Wofford's without the top wideout from last year as well. The sophomore from Canada, Dylan DeJetti. So not the full arsenal offensively either.
As well as Quincy Hughes, the left tackle, coming off an ACL from last season. Started the first 5 games before he tore his knee up. He's coming back from injury as well. So they've got some holes they're trying to plug right now.
On the ground with Parsons fighting for room. Tavian Gass, one of the tackles as well. He did not make the trip due to a violation of team rules. So Hughes on one side, Gass on another. A couple of tackles that Wofford hopes to have for Sean Watson as this year goes along.
And that is not something the quarterback wants to see, both of his starting tackles not playing.
Oh, Pitt takes the timeout with 1:06 to go here in the second quarter. Hey, tomorrow women's sports take over the afternoon right here on ACC Network. We got some top early season matchups in a variety of sports. Number 5 Pitt, they host number 10 Kentucky in volleyball at noon Eastern. Then we'll have a soccer matchup with Arkansas and North Carolina, the top 10 tussle. And then the afternoon closes down with field hockey with Wake Forest and James Madison. Big news of the week, the ACC expansion. Stanford, Cal, SMU, they're coming next season. So we're going to go up to 18 teams in the conference, 17, of course, in football.
And now the ACC has a footprint in Texas and a footprint in California, both recruiting rich states full of talent.
On third down, Corston toward the sideline, and he's got it complete. Kyle Watkins, the junior who has really developed and taken a big step forward. He's got a first down in the first third down conversion for the Terriers in the first half.
And you see Wofford going to the hurry-up offense. You want to try and get the ball down the field as much as possible. You've got 43 seconds left. Even if you can get in the field goal range, you want to try and get something on the board before the half.
Wondering if this might be a clock issue here, because of course we've got the new rules for the first down and the clock.
A rule under 2 minutes, the clock will stop on the first down. The clock kept running, so please reset the clock to 56 seconds. The clock will start on my signal.
Good explanation from Jeff Flanagan. Of course, new this year, it now only stops with less than 2 minutes in each half.
Absolutely, and before, when you got a first down, the clock would stop, but now it doesn't. And so teams have to recognize that and get up to the line of scrimmage and keep moving.
So they tack on somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds. The NCAA folks, they feel like it'll take 7 to 8 plays maybe out of each game with that change to the clock management. JT Smith with nowhere to go on first down. It's no gain. Got wrapped up by Dayon Hayes and Kamara. And Pitt will take a timeout. 35 seconds to go until halftime. They've got 1 remaining, seeing if they can get the football back. Hey, help people affected by Hurricane Idalia. Donate at redcross.org/ESPN to help the Red Cross respond and help people recover. Pat Narduzzi, if you're him right now headed to halftime, how do you feel about how this has gone?
You got to feel good about the score. I think there are some things that they can work on. And from a perspective of running the football, I thought the offensive line did not do as good of a job as I thought they would coming into this ball game. And when I say that, I mean knocking guys off the football. When you're averaging 6'5", 325, I expect to see some road grading. But pass pro-wise, they've done a really good job. I think Jurkovec has shown that he is the guy for this offense, and he's getting more and more comfortable as the game goes along. But there are more positives than negatives.
On second down out of the timeout, Corsten takes off and now throws to the sideline and has a completion to Kyle Watkins for 5 yards. Out of bounds with 27 seconds to go.
And back to that question, when you're leading 28-0, you've got to find something to coach up at halftime. Yeah. So I think that is the thing that he'll coach up. I think they'll want to come out and establish a rushing attack, a more consistent rushing attack between the tackles.
Well, third down and 5. The ball at the 44 of Wofford. Kamara and Simon showed pressure. Only Simon rushes, and Corsten had to get rid of it. Under duress, throws to the sideline, took the hit, and now it's fourth down with Jules bearing down on him.
And Corsten has to recognize when you've got 4 wides, they've got more coming than you've got protecting, so you've got to get rid of the football. He has immediate pressure as soon as he's getting the ball from the center. So you've got to know where you want to go with the football, and that comes with pre-snap reads. But once again, we talk about the offensive linemen for Wofford, and these are linemen that were recruited to play in that triple option offense, so they're learning pass protection as well.
A team that used to run it 90% of the time. Good punt sends Devonshire back inside his own 10. Precious seconds tick off the clock as Devonshire can't get past the 7. So 6 seconds to go until halftime. Pitt does have a timeout, but not much left to do here.
And I'll be surprised if they do anything other than take a knee on this play. You don't want to put your quarterback, Jurkovec, in a position to get hit, lose the football that close to the end zone. And you've got a 28-point lead.
So Phil Jurkovec in his debut at Pitt. Family in from all over the place. Former classmates of his from when he was in grade school are here. And he orchestrates a 28-point output for Pitt in the first half for Pat Narduzzi's Panthers against Wofford. 28-zip at the half. Let's get you to Blacksburg. The ACC Huddle crew is standing by. Kelsey, Eric, and EJ, take it away. We welcome you back to Pittsburgh, the middle game of our ACC Network triple header on week 1, Saturday. We welcome you back. Forrest Connolly, Mike Monaco with you upstairs. Alex Chappell with us as well. And we started talking about the new quarterback here for Pitt, Phil Jurkovec. Took him a few throws to maybe settle in, and from there looked really good.
But once he settled in and he knew where he wanted to go with the football, he started spreading it around, and he was very effective in the first half. You know, I liked the first time he got the ball out to his running back. A good job by Flemester. Flemester gets up the field, gets positive yards, and that's what you want to see. Then he got the ball to Mumpfield in the middle of the field. Mumpfield takes the hit but holds on to the football. Then he goes to his big tight end, Carter Johnson, over the top, and he gets down the field. And then the Bartholomew, the other big tight end in the middle of the field. So he spread the ball around. You've got the tight ends catching the football. You've got the backs catching the football. You've got receivers catching the football. That's what you want your new quarterback to do. Get comfortable and know where his guys are going to be and get the ball to him down the field.
Yeah, so it was a punt and then 4 straight touchdown drives, and with all the weapons, how about Phil Jurkovec? It's 8 straight completions, all of at least 10+ yards after he started out 2 for 4.
And that's what he talked about. Hey, guys, I want to win by any means necessary. I came here to do something. They brought me in from the portal to get something done, and I'm going to get it done. So I expect him to play a couple of more series in this ball game. We know they've got a tough out-of-conference schedule coming up with the games against Cincinnati, and then the big one at West Virginia that we know everybody here, especially, I mean, you want to win every ball game, but that one kind of stands out. And, you know, so I think you're going to see him a couple of more series because you want to continue to get him acclimated to his receivers, to his running backs, where their comfortable spots are against live action.
Pitt won the initial coin toss. They deferred. And so Pitt gets the ball. We get another look at Phil Jurkovec here out of halftime. Wofford, meanwhile, FCS school out of the SoCon, just 34 yards of total offense after a 3-win season last year. First full year for Sean Watson at the helm. Richard Jones, sophomore from Georgia, boots it deep for the Terriers. So Phil Jurkovec and company have it at the 25. So a lot of different guys were getting involved. We also talked about what does the running back situation look like, and it's been the top 3 getting involved, and all the pass catchers making an impact as well.
Well, one thing I like about that for opposing defenses that are scouting this Pitt ball club, you don't have 1 or 2 players that you can identify as the go-to players when you've got a quarterback that's spreading the ball around like he has early in this ball game. So I like what I'm seeing so far from Jurkovec in this offense.
Pitt's got all 4 touchdowns on the ground, so 4 rushing scores. They had only 2 games with 4+ rushing touchdowns last season. On first down to start the second half, Jurkovec takes a shot deep downfield, and he overshot. Bub Means, who can really burn, was clocked at 4.36 this offseason, and he wanted it.
And I think Anur and Pulley just found out you've got to run backwards. You've got to turn your hips and run, because he ran in between both of those guys. And if the ball, if he puts a little bit more air, you see him right there, he knew he had exactly what he wanted. If he puts a little bit more air under that football, he's able to run under it, and we'd be talking about a touchdown right now.
I mean, that's a dimension maybe we'll see more of in this Pitt offense this year. Jurkovec able to air it out and take some shots with a guy who can really blaze like Bub Means.
And that's what I was talking about. That's why I think we'll see him a couple of more series, because you want to get that live action and get that chemistry with your backs and with your receivers and understand their speed.
Prior to snap, timeout, Pittsburgh. First charge, timeout.
So the Panthers take a timeout here, just 10 seconds in, and some smiles from Phil Jurkovec. Well, you talk about where this program is at, year 9 for Pat Narduzzi. Back-to-back years they finished in the top 25. They had 6 guys get drafted off last year's roster, and well, you look at that, that was tied for the most in the ACC. And since Pat Narduzzi took over, they're second in the conference in league wins.
And you talk about this ball club, and it's not just offensively. You know, defense, you know, Kalijah Kancey, he won the Defensive Player of the Year last year. You know, kind of in the mold of an Aaron Donald with the size and the ability and what he was able to do and accomplish as far as accolades and being unanimous, you know, consensus, All-American. You just don't see that a lot, especially from the defensive tackle position. But this guy was first team on everybody's list, so that tells you how good he was.
Went 19th overall, of course, to the Bucks. There's Matt Gonzalez last year, 3rd team All-ACC, one of the captains on this group as well. So 2nd down and 10 for Jurkovec and this Panther offense. To throw again, and out of the backfield, Flemister couldn't corral that. Incomplete. 3rd down and 10.
And that's a play where Jurkovec has to recognize the back coming on the blitz and hold the snap count. You know, he's a veteran. He knows how to read those things. And once again, it's with rhythm and, you know, understanding your offense. But on plays like that, you want to hold the snap count and make that guy back out. And at that point, allow your offensive linemen to get their pre-snap reads so they can block that up for you.
To change his timing, because he's timing it up defensively.
Absolutely.
So now 3rd down and 10 for Jurkovec and Pitt on the opening drive out of halftime. 4-man rush. Jurkovec slides in the pocket, and a touch pass to the sideline for a first down to Gavin Bartholomew. John Michael DiRoberto in on the stop. 11 yards and indeed a first down.
And if you see Bartholomew on this play, he's getting beat up he's getting held, but he's able to keep his balance. And that is impressive for a guy that's 6'5", 250 pounds. Not only to keep his balance, but to be able to locate that football, squeeze it, bring it to his body, and get the first down for his quarterback.
High expectations for Bartholomew this year, and really the entire tight end room. We talked about the improvement in that group from last year to this year, and you've already spotlighted the measurables on all these guys. Flemister with a cutback, not much there. I mean, it's 4 tight ends who have all been involved in that first down.
And what's interesting is the majority of their formations, they have 2 tight ends in the ballgame. So they're showing max protection when you've got those 2 tight ends. But a lot of times those guys are going out on routes and running routes. And when you've got those big guys on both sides of the field, it's very difficult for safeties and linebackers to cover them.
They got Bartholomew split out in the slot right on second down and 10. 4-man rush. Jurkovec scans, rifles one over the middle, and finds Bub Means. Another catch for Means. Mined in coverage, and 15 more yards for Pitt.
And a good job once again by the offensive line. They've got good sets. You see the guards in the center doing a good job of being stout at the point of attack, and the tackles are doing a good job of getting that 3 kick step before they open that outside shoulder and taking those defensive ends up the field. When you see those speed rushes as a tackle, you've got to get those 3 kick steps. You're at the quarterback's level at that point, and then you can open up that outside shoulder and take them up the field.
Second grab for Bub Means. Got 39 yards. Jurkovec off the play fake, sidesteps Brandon Mena and was nearly intercepted by Jalen Marshall, the outside linebacker. There's a flag down, perhaps a late hit.
Roughing the passer, number 97 defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
It's on Chuck Smith, one of the top defensive players for the Terriers. And Marshall's going to hobble off here.
And on that play, Jurkovec, he did what young quarterbacks do. He tries to make something out of nothing. Sometimes when it's not the way it's drawn up, just get rid of the football. And that was a dangerous play by the defenders. You know, they could have hurt Jurkovec on that play. So you've got to be very careful. And he hit him above the shoulder pads. That's something that the officials could take a look at.
Previous play is under further review for targeting.
Yeah, as you thought, on sort of a high-low, and they will look for targeting. We'll step aside. We'll inform you of the results when we come back. They looked at it, and Chuck Smith has been disqualified for targeting, a returning starter on the defensive line, preseason second-team all-conference here.
Well, he hit with the crown of his helmet, and he hit Jurkovec above his shoulders, a defenseless player. And I don't think he meant to do it. You just want to kind of get a little tap on the quarterback just to let him know you were there. It's unfortunate, but it's the rules, and they have to make sure that you're protecting players on the football field. So I understand, and I like the fact that they took a second look.
Yeah, so Wofford without the services of one of their best defensive players. Swing it out to Mumpfield for a couple of yards. And I mean, Smith's a guy who has great bloodlines as well. His father Chuck played 9 years in the NFL and all-pro in the late 90s, mostly with the Falcons, and he's now coaching the outside linebackers for the Ravens. But with the Ravens off this weekend, he was here to watch his son.
Absolutely, and this guy has a future ahead of him. He's one of those FCS players that I think next level coaches and next level talent evaluators will take a look at, not only because of his DNA and bloodline, but because of his play on the football field.
He's got a lot of tools. Andrew Warwick, one of the defensive coordinators, said we're excited to see him take another step forward this year. Sibo Flemister on second down picks up about 4 before David Powers, last year's leading tackler for Wofford, and on the stop it brings up third down and short.
And isn't this an awesome name for a running back? Sibo Flemister. You gotta love that, man. He just sounds like a tough guy.
6th-year senior from Williamson, Georgia. by way of Notre Dame.
And when we talked to the coaching staff, they said they described him as a tough guy mentality-wise, and you see it the way he runs the football.
He's already got the helmet smeared, some shavings up there from some of the contact he's dealing with. Early on in the second half, they keep it with C'Bo Flemister, and he picks up the first down.
And this is what I think you're going to see in the second half of this ball game from that starting offensive line as long as they're in the ball game. I think for Coach Narduzzi, they want to start to set the tone. You know, they've got a bunch of people movers on that offensive line. They just have not been moving people from a run perspective. So you want to start to see the fits, get good fits, fire off with a flat back, keep your feet wide with a wide base, and duck walk some of these defenders out of the trenches.
Gonzalez, Collier, Cradle, Zubovic, and Taylor. In the flat, Flemister turns it upfield and pushed out of bounds inside the 10. David Powers nudged him out.
And a good job once again by the offensive line. You see the guards in the center. They do a good job of covering up those defenders, and the tackles keep the width of the pocket. So a good job once again for them giving Jurkovec the time that he needed to get the ball down the field.
And this is what you're talking about with the offensive linemen. The experience up front starts really with Jake Cradle, certainly with Gonzalez at left tackle this year. So 22 yards there to C'Bo Flemister. And first and goal inside the 5. And whistles pre-snap, and Wofford will take a timeout.
Wofford. First charge, timeout. Timeout.
So Andrew Warwick and Sean Watson want to talk things over with Pitt driving into the red zone. Hey, coming up next, we cap the day with Virginia Tech playing host Under the Lights in Blacksburg to Old Dominion. Also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. There's a lot of newness on that Virginia Tech offense. They upgraded through the portal at wideout, at running back as well. They juggled the offensive coaching staff, and for Old Dominion, they've been blaring Enter Sandman the last couple of weeks. Wes Durham was telling me pregame in anticipation for tonight.
You got to love the energy, because they come into this ball game believing they can win. They did last year, so why not do it again?
It's always a fun scene. It is one of the best entrances in all of sports, not just college football, watching that first night game at Lane. 10th play of the drive upcoming. It's been a 9-play, 73-yard drive of about 5 minutes so far for Pitt. 3 tight ends in the ball game. Jurkovec under center, and C'Bo Flemister fighting forward, gets pushed from behind, and Flemister is spotted just short of the goal line.
And if I'm Coach Narduzzi, I'm challenging my offensive line. These guys are too high. They're too high. If you look at that play, everybody kind of stood up. You need to see flatbacks. You basically need to be in a 4-point stance and bear crawl. You've got to uproot those defenders too high. All of those guys are too high.
The game clock to 9 minutes, 42 seconds. The clock will start on my signal.
Is it hard to do as an offensive lineman? Like, do you find yourself coming up out of your stance a little bit more than you'd like?
It's goal line. You see, all these guys are up. I should not see their numbers. They should have flat backs. You should not see the back of their numbers. They got to fire off the football.
On second down, Jurkovec to throw. Eludes Mena to the end zone, and it is caught by Carter Judson for his first career FBS touchdown. Jurkovec kept it alive and cashes in to Johnson.
And what more could the defender do on that play? There was pressure by Mena, but you saw Jurkovec continue to look up the field. He got outside of the pressure, and he put the ball where Johnson could get up and make a play on it. Watch Johnson. There's nothing else the defender could do on this play. They've got him covered up. He just outfights him for the football. And once again, that size, 6'2", 255 pounds. He used his basketball skills and blocked him out and squeezed the football. So
the first career passing touchdown as well at Pitt for Phil Jurkovec. Solves the extra point. 35-0 now, and it's Carter Johnson. Frank Cignetti said this, you don't notice him a lot on tape because he does everything right. Well, he's going to stand out on the tape here, connecting with Phil Jurkovec. Plays and yards for Pitt's offense so far. Rolling along in the opener against the Terriers. Garrett Vernon back deep for Wofford. After 11 plays, 75 yards, a little over 5.5 minutes. Phil Jurkovec was 5 of 7 on the drive for 53 yards and the touchdown to Carter Johnson. Found a way to get open in the end zone. And for more on that, down to Alex.
All right, Mike and Forrest. Well, Coach Underwood and the wide receivers coming up with a excellent nickname for the group. They're calling themselves the Waffle House. The wide receivers have a goal of being open 24/7, serving up big plays, and being reliable. I wonder what their favorite dish of a play. Okay, my pun didn't work there, Mike.
Yeah, Bub Means has said, have you ever seen a Waffle House close?
Absolutely. Scattered, smothered, covered, chunked, and diced, baby.
My man is hungry. Shades of Julio Jones. Good one-arm catch there by Jordan Davis, one of the tight ends. Solomon DeShields on the stop. There's a flag in the backfield.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer, number 50 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
It's on Dayon Hayes, the senior from right here in Pittsburgh.
And let's watch on this play. Corsten. Just unnecessary. You know, that's kind of touchy. I mean, it is football. I mean, maybe the officials want to give Wofford some more opportunities because I don't make that call. I don't think the coaching staff will have anything to say to Hayes about that play.
As we tick toward 9 to go in this third. First down from the 39 for Bryce Corsten and the Wofford offense. He takes a shot downfield and broken up by MJ Devonshire with Kyle Penix the intended target.
And one of the things I think Devonshire does a really good job of is using the sideline to his advantage. I've seen him often force receivers towards that sideline. You know, once they step out of bounds, they become an ineligible receiver unless somebody else touches the ball first. So I like what he's doing where he's pressing those guys to the outside and using the sideline to his advantage.
Last year he was honorable mention All-ACC at corner. They swing it out to J.T. Smith out of the backfield. Hayes on the stop, brings up third down, and for Pitt in the secondary, they really view it as 3 starters with their corners, with Devonshire and Williams, and then also the speedy A.J. Woods, who lines up as the nickel as well.
And what was interesting, the coaching staff told us that the free safety, O'Brien, is the most important back-end player because he plays that field safety position, and he has to do a lot of one-on-one coverage with receivers and tight ends. So he's the most important person in that defensive backfield.
At P.J. O'Brien, they've got Stephon Hall in there right now. New safeties this year for Pitt. On third down, Corsten incomplete. Not on the same page with Devin Matthews. Corsten under pressure from Dayon Hayes, and it brings up fourth down.
And I think Hayes, you know, got a little angry about that call because the last 2 plays he's been around. You know, he first comes across the field and takes the receiver out, and then he gets immediate pressure on Corsten on that last play.
So it brings back out Atkins Roberts, the senior from Alabama, 3rd year as the punter for Wofford. And he's been busy today. Just 33 yards of total offense for the Terriers here in Pittsburgh. Good punt this time, and that spins out of bounds on a beauty. Right around the 5. A punt of 51 from Roberts. Hey, coming up next, the ACC Huddle crew will have a complete breakdown of this game, and they will get you ready for primetime. Old Dominion and Virginia Tech. They'll also wrap that one up after it's over, plus the entire day of ACC football. Still got more to come over the next couple of nights as well. Tomorrow, the top 10 showdown, only ranked on ranked game this weekend over on ABC at 7:30, LSU and Florida State. And then Monday, 8 o'clock ESPN, Clemson and Duke.
And two of the teams that everyone expects to be around at the end of the season, Clemson and Florida State. And I think there are some other ACC teams, North Carolina. That is going to be an interesting ball game this evening against South Carolina.
And we're going to be trying to find our spot where we're going to watch that once we're done here. Looks to be on Pitt.
Offense number 70. The penalty is half the distance to the goal. Still first down.
That's on Ryan Baer, not a starter on the offensive line, but a guy Pat Narduzzi has called the sixth wheel. Very talented, 6'7" redshirt freshman from Ohio.
And don't forget 330. Another one, man. I love the size of this offensive line.
Carter, the fullback, takes the carry. He was out there with Hammond. Yeah, what do you make of this offensive line and just really the makeup of what you've seen from this offense so far and how you think it will fare this season?
I think they do a great job with pass protection. I think they need to continue to work on their run fits. And when I say run fits, I mean, firing off with a flat back. Sometimes I see the guards standing up a little bit, and that's just natural when you're that tall, 6'4", 6'5", to stand up because you're usually able to overpower people. But as they continue to get into conference play and play against stiffer competition, they've got to be able to fire out with flat backs and keep a wide base. If they continue to develop, they're going to be very difficult to stop as far as an offense with production, because we know what Djokovic brings to this team. He's a guy that's going to stand tall in the pocket. You see he's going to deliver the football down the field. I don't think there's going to be a game that's too big for him because he's played in big games.
Another first down on the ground, running behind that offensive line, that time from Daniel Carter. And it's a stable of backs as well. And Pitt fans certainly curious to see how that shakes out over the course of the season. First down from the 16. In the belly of Carter. Stretches it out to the edge. And is finally spun down near the 40 by Maximus Pulley. And Daniel Carter's been busy here on this drive, picks up a dozen.
So if it's not enough to have a 6'5", 330-pound guy blocking you, now you've got a 5'10", 230-pound guy coming at you with the football, and he refuses to go out of bounds. You think he's going to step out, but he jumps back inside to get 5 more yards and deliver the contact to the defender.
At 21 in total on the carry for the fifth-year senior, who again got the start today because of how durable and consistent he was throughout camp. He didn't miss a practice. Pat Narduzzi was raving to us about. Now Hammond in the backfield. They check it down to one of the tight ends, Jake Renda. And so they said about Daniel Carter, he might not be the same game breaker maybe as what you had last year, but he has been consistent. He has been durable. And then you got some talented guys alongside him as well in Hammond and Flemister. And we haven't yet seen the transfer from LSU, Derek Davis.
Well, you saw Carter on that last play, break 2 tackles. They had 2 opportunities to make the tackle, but he's so powerful, he's able to run through on tackles. So it's a great problem to have when you've got all of these guys running the football. You've got a tight end room full of studs. I mean, it's a great, problem to have for this Pitt offense.
They've rushed for 134 yards. Djokovic set up the screen, and off the deflection, it's Hammond with a burst down the sideline. And Hammond finally pushed out of bounds by Maximus Pulley, saving 6.
And there's a flag on the play, but I love the patience by Djokovic. He saw the pressure, but he allowed the play to develop. I think it's going to come back, but a good job by Djokovic to allow it to develop.
Holding number 0 on the offense. Penalty is 10 yards.
So they get Bub Means for the holding to bring it back, and more importantly, Jake Cradle, the veteran starting center, being tended to on the field. It appeared to be just cramping for Jake Cradle, Pitt's center. Good to see him smiling on the sideline.
And what I love, he was trying to get back into the game, and Coach Narduzzi had to stop him and say, hey, hold up. You got to be out at least one play. You can't get back in there. But that's that tough guy mentality that the coaching staff talked about with Cradle and what he brings to the table for this offensive line.
And there's been a second
So Terrence Moore comes in behind him, perhaps indeed just for one snap. Cradle, the 24-year-old sixth-year senior from Butler, Pennsylvania. Carter breaks free of a man in the backfield. And back to Cradle, hearing one more play. The words from Narduzzi.
And you see him, he's ready to go back in, and you see Coach telling him one play. You got to stay out, one play.
And sure enough, there he is. How about the story Phil Jurkovec told us about Jake Cradle from playing against him in high school? Phil told us that senior year for Jake Cradle, every play they would run it behind Cradle, but he would break the huddle at different spots on the offensive line. So the defensive game plan for Phil's team was wherever Cradle is lined up on the line, that's where they're running the football. It's not a high-powered high school team, Phil said kindly. Here's a reverse, and the speedster, Chet Wabuko, spun down inside the 30. The redshirt freshman from Austin, Texas, picks up 24 yards before he's tripped up by Eli Campbell.
And you see Wabuko get to the edge, and look at Jurkovec trying to make a block for his guy. When you look at film and they do film study, the offensive line will thoroughly enjoy that. The receivers and the backs will appreciate their quarterback going out and getting involved, sticking his head in there, trying to make a block.
And it helps spring Wabuko, who has talked about his speed. He says you have to put the fire extinguisher on my feet. Takes Pitt to the outskirts of the red zone. Jurkovec scans, steps up, directs, and throws incomplete in the direction.
But I love the way Jurkovec is continuing to look down the field, go through his progressions. But there was pressure again by Brandon Mena. And we can't overlook the fact Brandon Mena is 6 feet tall, 275 pounds, playing defensive end. Now, as an offensive tackle, I hated to play against guys like that because they're so low to the ground. You're trying to get hands on them, and, you know, it's very difficult, and often you have to grab those guys to try and stop them. So I see why he's able to get pressure for those tackles. It's a good test.
Now on second down, Jurkovec keeps to the edge off the zone read, and he picks up a first down, run out by Jihad Scales on a gain of 12.
And a good read by Jurkovec. Once again, when you see the end crash down, he reads Harrison Morgan, number 10. When he comes down, you want to make the big play, you want to make the big tackle, but your job is to keep contained.
Yeah, it's a couple of good reads that Jurkovec has made in the zone read, part of 174 rushing yards for Pitt, just one for Wofford. Pitt picks up the pressure off the edge. Jurkovec tucks and is submarined right around the 10 by Nick Morgan.
Watch Matt Gonzalez on this play, number 76. This is what you call picking up the blitz, right? You see it to the outside, he saw it coming, and he kicks out and he picks up that blitz, which allows the quarterback to have extra time to look down the field. Once he didn't see what he liked, Jurkovec got to the outside and got as many yards as he could. But I love the way the tackle was able to recognize that blitz and pick it up.
That's what a lineman has to do when there's not that extra hold on the snap count, right?
Absolutely. You've got to look and survey the defense and get your reads.
12th play of the drive is a second down handoff to Hammond. Maximus Pulley came bursting into the backfield, keeps Hammond to 1. Pulley, the Western Kentucky transfer, steps in at safety, and they need him to be a big-time player this year.
And some of the things I think the Pitt offense will take away from this game is for Jurkovec, when you see those linebackers coming up in those gaps, when you see those safeties coming up with that blitz, learning to hold that snap count, make them back out. You know, and that takes time, and that's rhythm, and that will come as they continue to work and play more with one another.
Well, now they got 3rd down and 3. A drive that started at Pitt's own 5-yard line. Out of a 3-receiver look, Jurkovec floats it for Mumpfield, and too strong. And it brings up 4th down.
And Jurkovec knows he missed one on that play. He had exactly what he wanted. Mumpfield, the speedster, one-on-one to the outside. He just put a little bit too much on the football. And you see right here, he knows it. He knows he had exactly what he wanted.
Some 4-letter frustration. He's had a couple of throws in this third quarter that he's wanted to be a little bit more precise. That shot downfield to start the third to Bub Means. It's Ben Sauls who comes out from 26 yards off the big showing in the Sun Bowl. He is good. And Pitt adds on in the final minute of the third. Well, it's been a big week for the ACC. Tuesday was the flag-raising ceremony at the new office headquarters in Charlotte. So the flag's going up for 15 schools. Greg Olson on hand. Luke Kuechly there as well. The official opening taking place a few days from now on September 5th. Even the mascots getting involved.
What a huge week for the ACC. With the addition of SMU, Cal, Stanford, awesome for the conference.
That was the talk during our meetings with Pat Narduzzi, Frank Cignetti, Randy Bates, everyone coming in. Kind of the first thing on everyone's mind was the news of the 3 new schools.
And I love it because once again, you've now got a footprint in California and a footprint in Texas. And we know the football talent, the high school football talent in both of those states. Outside of Florida and Georgia, I think those 4 states, I think, are where you get the most talent. And the ACC has a footprint in every one of those states now.
The realignment wheels continue to churn. Sauls sprays another one for a touchback in the final minute of this third. Well, for Wofford and this offense, again, remember, they're still transitioning like they were last year from the option style to the spread. Sean Watson, he calls it pro spread. I mean, as recently as 10 years ago, 90% of the plays were run plays. It's been 80-20 in recent years, and last year finally went to more of a 50-50 split pass run. Team that had a strong finish once the coaching change happened last year. Coruscant incomplete for Alec Holt. And so we'll see what this group looks like this year for Sean Watson, who told us he's not calling the plays today. That's tight ends coach Dane Romero, 9th year on staff, first year as the passing game coordinator. So doing that in conjunction with the guy you see there, the head coach Sean Watson.
And as they continue to recruit traditional offensive linemen, I think the offensive game plan will continue to grow, and you'll see more production from this offense.
Coruscant rolls out, throws to the sideline, and a sliding bid and catch made again by Alec Holt, who's been busy. It's his 3rd catch. Kyle Lewis there in coverage. Pat Narduzzi had so much praise for the person that Sean Watson is as a human being, and you hear that from pretty much everyone that talks about Sean Watson. A head coach now for the first time since the mid-90s at Southern Illinois. On first down, a screen to Holt again, who is wrapped up by A.J. Woods. So that'll do it for the third quarter here at Acrisure Stadium. Phil Jurkovec was out there for the entire third, and Pitt adds on. We go to the fourth. 38-0 is the lead for the Panthers in the opener here at home. To the fourth quarter, all Pitt in the opener here in week 1 against Wofford out of the FCS, before Cincinnati comes to town a week from today under the lights here at Acrisure Stadium. Second down for Wofford. Coruscant under pressure, and down he goes. During the break, Alex with Pat Narduzzi.
Well, Coach Narduzzi, Phil Jurkovec making his Pittsburgh debut today. Everybody's been excited about this one. What have your impressions been of number 5?
You know, it's fun to coach number 5. You know, you don't have to say much. I mean, just so calm and cool in the pocket. That's what I see. A guy sitting back there, guys are running by him at times, he's getting pushed by, and he's just got, you know, moxie in the pocket like we talked on Thursday.
Thank you. We appreciate your time. And Mike
About that moxie, the grit, the Pittsburgh flavor, he called it, that they come from Phil Jurkovec with. Ryan Ingram brought down on 3rd and long by Kamara. No gain. 4th down. Wofford has to punt again. I mean, it's the competitiveness that Frank Cignetti said to us stands out above all. Obviously, his coach, Phil Jurkovec, for a couple of years at Boston College, and Cignetti said to us, he's the most competitive athlete I've ever been around, bar none.
Well, that calmness is what offensive linemen look at, and when you know your quarterback is going to remain calm and sit in the pocket and look down the field, it gives you what you need, that extra push to continue to block and protect him and give him the time that he needs.
Wofford downs it inside the 5. Let's go back to Alex. She's with Phil himself.
Thank you, Mike. All right, well, Phil, you grew up just 30 minutes away from this stadium. What was it like for you making your Pittsburgh debut tonight?
It was a lot of fun. I love this city. I love the home crowd. The fans are great, and it was just, I watched a lot of games growing up of teams playing on this field, so it's a dream come true to play here.
It's awesome. Now, coming into today, you told us game 1 is about learning about the group that you have. What are your impressions that you can take away from your offense after today?
I thought we did a really nice job running the ball, so that's nice having that as an option. And then there's a lot of throws I'd like to have back, some reads, but I thought guys played well on the perimeter. The receivers made plays.
After the first quarter, it seemed like you all really found your rhythm. What made the difference?
You know, just it's going to be a little bit rusty. We haven't played for a while. Combination of factors, but it was nice just to shake the rust off, and we got in a little bit of a groove going in the second quarter there.
Phil, we really appreciate your time here. Congratulations on making your Pittsburgh debut, and thank you.
Thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, pretty cool access. We really appreciate that. Shout out to the always excellent and A+ Pitt SIDs led by E.J. Borghetti. They are first class bar none, and you hear what it's like for Phil Jurkovec, whose day is done as Christian Veyer, the Penn State transfer, takes over. Took a deep shot for Bub Means. It was broken up by Amir Anor. So nearly 400 yards of total offense, and you heard Jurkovec say he liked what they did on the ground. It's a carry for Derek Davis Jr., like Jurkovec, back home in Pittsburgh after transferring back from LSU.
Well, the ground game is going to help Jurkovec when they get face stiffer competition. But once again, I still want to see the offensive linemen continue to work on keeping the flat back, continue to work on firing off, and working to be the low man and get inside hands. They've done a good job, but overall, I want to just see more as they continue to face stiffer competition, because there are many times where they were playing high and they've got to get down. And once again, when you're a 6'4", 6'5" guy, it's difficult to bend. You've got to become a knee bender as opposed to a waist bender. You need to be a knee bender. You've got to be squatty. So I think that's some of the things that the coaching staff will talk to those offensive linemen about and continue to work on, because you're going to need those big fellas to lean on people and be people movers as they get into conference play.
That was incomplete out of the arms of Derek Davis. So Pitt will punt. And Phil said to Alex that he wants some throws back from this game, even with a line that says 17 for 23 for 214 yards. Caleb Junko, redshirt sophomore who won the job with a great camp, beat out Jeff Yerk, transfer who has left the program. Junko got a scholarship last week. More on your
beautiful day.
12.5 to go in the fourth, and it's on the ground with J.T. Smith. So the day for Jurkovec looked like this.
Well, what I love about what Jurkovec did all day long was he spread the ball around. He found his tight ends. He found his wide receivers. He found his running backs. He looked all over the field, and when pressure got to him, he continued to scramble, give his receivers more time to find open space. And this right here was one of the biggest and best plays. Carter Johnson contorting his body, fighting the defensive back and bringing that ball down for the touchdown.
Play action, and Bryce Corriston rolls out and directs, picks up a few. It'll bring up third down and manageable. Phil Jurkovec said to us that last year was the hardest year for him playing football in his life. Boston College went through so many injuries on its offensive line. He had a knee injury that ended his season before the end of the year. And so just on a human level, happy to see him happy and back to playing football.
And he gets to do it at home in front of his fans that watched him grow up and watched him become the star player that he was when he left the state to go play for Notre Dame.
Ball in midfield and on 3rd down at 5. Of course, then checks it down to the freshman J.T. Smith, who got met and then wrapped up as the Panthers thud to the football. And it's a gain of 3, so 4th down and 2 for Wofford just across midfield. Backup punter comes on for Wofford, Devery Cagle. And for the 2nd time, Chev Wabuko back deep. Cagle gets it away. And Wabuko feigns the catch. And a touchback. 10.5 to go. A lot of fun for Pitt and its season opener today. In total control, 38-zip on Wofford, and for a program that's got 20 wins combined the last 2 years, expectations always high here under Pat Narduzzi.
From the 20,
Christian Veilleux, 2nd drive at quarterback for the Panthers. He's now got the freshman running back beside him, Montravius Lloyd. And off the bobble, the catch made there. On the quick screen out to the sideline for Zion Fowler-El, the freshman.
And a good job by Fowler-El to continue to concentrate after the ball bounced off of his helmet to get possession of the football. But you got to catch that when you first get the ball. You can't allow that to happen because you allow the defenders to get to you and make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage and put your team behind the sticks.
See the numbers last year for Veilleux as a backup at Penn State. Won the backup job here at Pitt over Nate Yarnell. Pitt had recruited Veilleux out of high school. On 2nd down, this is Lloyd. No, on a keep for Veilleux toward the left side before he's stacked up by Eli Campbell, the freshman backup safety. And it brings up 3rd down after a gain of 6.
And Veilleux has to learn to slide. You don't want to take on contact like that if you're the quarterback. You want to slide, Veilleux.
So we're seeing him behind Jurkovec. Frank Cignetti said to us, if the game goes the way we hope it does, I would love to get Yarnell into the ballgame as well, all 3 quarterbacks. Coming up on 9 to go in this 4th. Play clock winding down on Veilleux. On 3rd down, quick throw left side, caught right near the 30 by Lloyd. And it looks like he's got enough for a 1st down.
And nice concentration by Lloyd on that play. He was basically on his knees but able to reach up and squeeze that football and get the 1st down for his ball player.
Yeah, even Nate Yarnell wanted to look up, see the replay on the video board of the catch by the freshman running back from Florida. So this is where you see the new clock rules come into play. Clock keeps rolling. Again, just the last couple of minutes on 1st downs. Will it stop? Throw to the right side, and that's Kenny Johnson, freshman wideout from York, Pennsylvania, who they are very high on. Pat Narduzzi said to us, he is really good. There's 4 freshman wide receivers in the wideout room for Taekwon Underwood, who greets Johnson on the sidelines. And Pat Narduzzi has said, I think 1 or 2 of them are going to contribute to this group and be a part of the main rotation of wide receivers, and certainly seems like Johnson is chief among them. On 2nd down, Lloyd has a 1st down, tripped up by John Michael DiRoberto.
And this is good live action for your second teamers, guys that you may have to depend on later in the season, unfortunately due to injury. So you want to make sure you get them some live action practice. You're never going to see the type of live action that you see in a football game. So I like that they're getting live action for all of their second teamers right now.
Three tight ends in the formation. And on the hard count, a play fake. There throws a beautiful ball. Can't unleash it here. He gets banged down by Nick Morgan after a couple of yards as we tick towards 6.5 to go.
And I'll say it again, Bayer, slide, slide. You're the quarterback.
He's got a lot of ability.
But I thought it was a good job to hold on to the football and not try and make something happen that wasn't there.
Soaking seconds off the play clock, and Lloyd again to the right side before he's stacked up. Brings up third down. Hey, tomorrow women's sports all afternoon right here on ACC Network, and some big matchups early on in the season. Pitt's volleyball team, they got honored here during this game here today. They're in action at noon Eastern against Kentucky. Then soccer, it's Arkansas and North Carolina in a top 10 showdown. And then field hockey, number 12 Wake Forest against James Madison. And a reminder still to come tonight in Blacksburg, Virginia Tech and Old Dominion, with Wes Durham, Tim Hasselbeck, and Taylor Tannenbaum on the call. Lloyd takes it out toward the logo, about a yard shy of a first down. It'll bring up 4th and 1 with Campbell on the stop. All right, so you get your feet wet in week 1 if you're Pitt, and then check out what remains on this schedule, and even just the non-conference: Cincinnati, West Virginia, with the brawl getting renewed last year, and then Notre Dame in late October.
Well, I tell you, the two games that we talked to Jurkovec about was the Notre Dame game and the Boston College game. And remember, he said when he was looking at schools and he saw that Pitt played both of those teams, both of his former teams, his face lit up because of the opportunity. But they've got 2 tough out-of-conference games next on their schedule. That Cincinnati game will be a tough game. And, of course, we know they want to win that West Virginia football game. We know it will be a packed scene in Morgantown when they show up for that ball game in 2 weeks.
And how crazy was the game last year? MJ Devonshire with the Pitt 6 to win it for the Panthers, as it got renewed last season. And yeah, a couple of games that Phil Jurkovec familiar with. He said, yeah, he couldn't believe it when he did start digging in on the Pitt schedule, that those two teams are on it.
And it was interesting. He kind of tried to downplay it a little bit, but you know, like we both know, he wants those games bad.
Pressure off the blind side of Veer. He throws it incomplete downfield in the direction of Kenny Johnson. Yeah, it really gets moving right away on this Pitt schedule after week 1. And they loaded it up. I mean, it's power conference opponents the rest of the way.
But I don't think Coach Narduzzi would have it any other way. I love his energy. I love his moxie as a coach. You know, often when you talk to coaches during our coaches meetings, they're kind of, you know, downplaying things. They're very stoic in their delivery. But he had a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and he had the moxie that he talked about his quarterback having. And I love that about him. And I love that about what they did schedule-wise. You know, they accepted the challenge, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out this season.
Lloyd is bouncing off a gaggle of tacklers, runs it inside the 45, picks up 5 yards on 4 missed tackles, and Wofford thinks the ball came out at the end of it. Right now, Lloyd spotted down at the 44. Yeah, so they rule Lloyd down.
And what a tough run by Lloyd. You know, you see balance, you see power. You know, you see a willingness to take on the contact.
Talking it over with Andre Powell, running backs coach here at Pitt.
And it looked like the ball came out.
So we'll get a timeout taken by Pitt. We'll take it with them. 3 to go in the fourth, all Pitt. The Duquesne incline. You want to do that by foot for us? What do you think?
I was just telling our producer when I was walking up to the stadium, I saw that and I said, okay, that's a workout, a challenge that they probably have every player do. And I probably would have went on and jumped in the portal. if they told me, hey, Forrest, you got to run that. So I'm so glad to see that it's a ride and not a walk or run.
Third down, they swing it out to Kenny Johnson with some wiggle for a first down. Kenny Johnson getting involved here in the waning minutes for Pitt. So we talked about this Pitt offense. We talked a lot about Phil Jurkovec. Going to be interested to see what the defense looks like as well as they move forward in the schedule. One of the things Pat Narduzzi said to us is, what does safety look like for us? Replacing a couple of guys back there off last year's team in Eric Hallett, second team ACC, and Brandon Hill, drafted by the Texans. So a couple of guys who get drafted and newcomers on the back end.
Well, they just need playing time. They need, time on the field, and that's what you want to get out of this ball game, because these are the guys that you're going to depend on. These are the guys that you're going to have to expect something from, and they have to expect it from themselves. So I think games like this, you get the opportunity to see how they act and how they react in live action, because once again, we talked about it, the schedule gets a lot tougher starting next week before you go into conference play, and they've got one of the tougher conference schedules, outside of those 2 games that they play against Cincinnati and West Virginia.
Yeah, and even just the conference opener alone, starting with Drake May and Carolina, who again in action tonight over on ABC. There with a pass that gets tipped, and it falls incomplete, intended for Jake Renda. Brings up 3rd down and 9 with $1:36 to go here in the fourth. Well, our ACC Network slate of games got started back on Thursday. Wake Forest took control in that one against Elon. Then it was the confusion game, Miami against Miami, Ohio, last night.
Miami was going to win the football game.
Yeah. Really went out on a limb there. And then today started in Chestnut Hill with the upset there pulled by Thomas Hammock's group and Northern Illinois against Boston College. Play clock was winding down. We got a flag.
Play game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
And delay a game on the offense. We still got a bunch of ACC action to come. Again, still to come tonight in Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, Old Dominion. You can watch it as well on the ESPN app anywhere. Brent Pry and his group looking for revenge from last year. That was a wild one between those teams a season ago. So 3rd down and 14 now for Christian Veilleux in plus territory. Wofford brought 5 and lofted downfield to Jake McConaughey, who streaks in for a touchdown on his first career catch from 39 yards. Walk-on who got a scholarship last week. This has been a fun week for Jake McConaughey.
And it all started by a great block by number 34, Derek Davis, to protect his quarterback and give him the time that he needed to get the football down the field to McConaughey. And McConaughey does a good job of squeezing that football, and you see the excitement when he gets to the end zone. What a great feeling for this guy that just earned a scholarship to be able to score in the first ball game of the season.
And look at the reaction from his teammates. You gotta love it. 15 plays, 80 yards, 7.5 minutes. And the second team offense tacks on 7 with the freshman Samuel Carpenter with the point after.
And once again, a great job by Bayer, a great job by Derek Davis on the protection. And watch McConaughey react and getting to the end zone. Awesome for that young man. Great week. Scholarship, touchdown, celebration by his teammates.
$45-0 is the Pitt lead inside of 90 seconds to go in week 1 against Wofford. If you're Pat Narduzzi, what have you learned today?
Jurkovec is as advertised. He's got that moxie. He's calm in the pocket. He's learning his receivers. He spreads the ball around, and he keeps his eyes down the field. Something you don't see a lot of quarterbacks doing. But when he's scrambling and he gets outside the pocket, he continues to look through his progressions. And I think as the season progresses, he will continue to learn his receivers, what they like, where they are on the field, and they'll learn their quarterback as well and understand that the play is never over.
Phil Jurkovec's first ride with the hometown team. 6th year, 3rd school, QB1. Back home with a ton of family and friends in attendance watching this one. We asked him, what's the total number of people you think who would be here for this game? He couldn't even give us a total. Bryce Corriston lofts one deep downfield, and working back to the football, Tyler Parker makes the catch. And the freshman, Parker, is gone. 75 yards, and Wofford gets on the board loudly.
And Parker got away with a push off on Ryland Gandy. Gandy was in position number 10 to make the defensive play, and Parker pushed him off. I mean, the officials just allowed it to go, but I mean, it's obvious. It was an obvious push off, but a good play by Parker, and I like the fact that they're continuing to play, but he definitely pushed him off on that play. Maybe the officials just felt bad and wanted to help them get on the board.
And if you were interested in maybe total points in this game, we call that a bad beat.
You hear the crowd right now. Everybody's kind of reacting to the replay. That was an obvious pass interference.
Bridger Jones comes out to tack one on after the 75-yard touchdown pitch and catch for the freshman from Tipton, Georgia.
Watch Parker on this play. He gets 2 hands on him. Get out of bounds. And you see Gandy's turning around looking at the official like, hey, what else can I do?
And don't tell that to Tyler Parker, though. Talented freshman, Sean Watson was telling us, who is what they thought he would be when they recruited him. He's got some big playability. He's got the length at 6'3".
And that's what's interesting. He had the size to jump over Gandy and go for that football, but I guess he said, hey, I'm going to make sure I make a play in this game. And he's still going. Do they do an onside kick now?
So no shutout for Pat Narduzzi, Randy Bates, and the Pitt defense. You know, on the Wofford side of things as well, it's going to be real interesting to watch what they do, because this program really turned a corner when they made the coaching change last year, and when Sean Watson went from offensive coordinator to interim head coach, taking over for Josh Conklin, and now the first full year as the full-time head coach.
Well, I think recruiting is going to be big for this program. They're going to get some linemen in, more traditional linemen, to block, you know, in the offensive scheme that they're putting in, the more traditional offensive scheme. And I think in about 2 years, once you get those linemen in the program, they get acclimated to the system, acclimated to the speed of the game, you'll start to see that positive change take place.
Sean Watson has said to us, we're just getting up and running. It's a program that does have some good playoff history in the FCS playoffs. Here's A.J. Woods. He's been asking the coaches every year to return kicks, and he is brought down just past the 15-yard line. And so for Sean Watson in building this, I mean, there is good recent history. 2018, 2019, back-to-back SoCon championships. 2019 was the last trip to the FCS playoffs, and then 2021, they go 1-10. Then last year, it's an 0-6 start to the season, but a good finish to the year and trying to carry that over into the FCS slate to SoCon. Minute and 7 seconds to go here in regulation. Get our football swapped out. We're ready to go for Christian Veilleux. And Pitt in the final minute. Montravius Lloyd. Stacked up right around the 20-yard line. Max Delansky. And on the tackle after 4 yards for Lloyd. We'll see what else the skill guys step up for Pitt as this non-conference season continues before ACC play against Carolina. We talked about the stable of running backs and a lot of options in terms of pass catchers as well. Headline probably by Means and Mumpfield.
And once again, the tight end position is going to be key for this ball club. They played a lot of double tights, triple tight formations, and what that does to a defense is make them think, and they have to put more people in the box to protect against the run and that max protection that they show. But those guys have shown the ability to catch the football, which I think makes this offense very multiple.
570 yards of total offense for Pitt, and a week 1 win for the Panthers. 45-7. Old friends embracing and a new face back home in Pittsburgh. Thanks for watching. For our entire crew led by the guys behind the scenes, Casey and Brett, for Forrest and Alex, Mike Monaco saying so long. Let's get you to Blacksburg, where the ACC Huddle crew is standing by.
For a matchup against Cincinnati, thank you.